let there be peace. I am a stand for peace, so let there be love. I am a stand for love, let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now.
Good afternoon and welcome to Finding the Joy in the Journey. My name is Gina Calvario-Krupka and I am blessed to be host of this show. But in addition to that, also on this beautiful prayer team here on this network that is here to know truth and be here with you every morning and every evening, 8:15 Mountain Time, 10:15 where I am on the East Coast. And we are here to pray and know truth. I also am the host of the Peace Circle on Monday nights and spiritual director of CSL Greater Boston. So I'm wearing many hats and so grateful to have fun on this show, Finding the Joy in the Journey. Now, the joy is always there. And that's why the show is called what it is. It used to be the joy is in the journey. And then I got this knowing, this prompting that Spirit said, it's not just about joy. How do we get there? That's what I do Monday nights is I say, how do we get to peace? So here on Finding the Joy in the Journey, how do I get to joy? When I look outside and I see what I see, when I look on the news and I see what I see, when I see people hurting or struggling, or I'm in my own stuff, how do I reach that joy? And that's what this show is all about. So every week I have wonderful guests that come on and help teach us how to find that joy, to be in that light, that love, that knowing. And I have a wonderful, wonderful minister here today for that. I have Rev Dr Michelle Medrano, who I am so grateful to have here with me this afternoon, wherever you are. Yeah, I'm just blessed. Rev Dr Michelle Medrano found Science and Mind as a teenager at Mile High Church in Denver, Colorado. She received her ministerial degree at the School of Ministry from Mile High in '91 and has been a career minister. She was in Arizona at Huntington Beach Church of Religious Science for 17 years. And in 2013, she's invited back to Mile High as an associate minister. And since 2019, she's joined Reverend Joshua Reeves as the co-lead minister of Mile High Church. Dr. Michelle brings her many years of experience of successful ministry and her powerful services in Centers for Spiritual Living. She has done so much in her time. And in 2021, she published her first book. And we're going to talk about that today because it is an amazing topic that is so well needed, especially right now. Resolve your fears and activate your spiritual immune system. And it quickly became a bestseller on Amazon. So, you can, there's so much good in our CSL community and family. She's also a proud mom and a blessed wife, an unbelievable teacher, motivational speaker, and just an all around a wonderful person. So thank you, Reverend Dr. Michelle. Thank you for being here with us on Finding the Joy in the Journey.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you for your wonderful introduction. It's great to be here.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm cold, though. It's a cold day here in Denver. It's like 9 degrees outside, and so we're all bundling up and trying to stay warm. But otherwise, I'm having a great day and happy to be here with you.
Well, we actually, we here in New England, any given moment, it can be a drop of swing. In an hour, we can swing 20, 30 degrees. So last night we went to bed and it was snowing.
Yeah.
And we woke up with snow on the ground and it's 50 degrees and sunny. So it all went away. So
Yeah,
we just never
same
know. We just play this game here.
Yeah,
But
same
we go
here.
with the flow.
It's supposed to be 60 or 70 on Sunday here. So
Beautiful.
it's the same thing going back and forth.
So, we take with good what we get, right?
That's
We'll take
right.
every step of the way.
Mhm.
I am so excited about talking to you about your book. But before we get there, I want to ask you, what brings you, my favorite question to ask guests, especially when the first time here, is what brings you the most joy in your life?
Well, it was interesting you should ask that question because when I lived in Arizona, I had a wonderful community of friends, and I felt really held in the energy of girlfriends and groups of friends. And since I've moved back to Denver, it's not that I don't have good friends here, because I most certainly do. I have great friends here. It's just that I and my friends have gotten so busy, and I was focused on raising a son and being in a new relationship. And so I have these opportunities to connect with friends, but they're not as profound as I would like. So one of my greatest joys is to just sit with my friends and talk about life. And so I started hosting a monthly potluck with my friends, that my husband and I just open our home and say, if you can come. If you can't, great. Everybody bring food, and we just have community time. And then recently, we went out after a service, my husband and I, and it just kind of happened naturally that some friends were at the church service. And so we all went out and we had time to talk and eat and drink. And when we left, I was just filled with so much joy. And I said to my husband, I'm so happy and joyful right now. I think for me, and that's probably one of the reasons I do what I do, being with people is a joy. My mother used to look at me and she'd say, being with groups of people is invigorating for you where it's depleting for other people. And I think that's true. I am a people person, and just talking with people, getting to know people, that's my greatest joy, I would say.
Absolutely. And that connection.
Yes.
When your heart touches another's heart, and you just in that space of completely open. And I think we appreciate it in a new way post-COVID.
Yes, that was part of it, because this was the first time since we've all gone to our rooms, as Matt Kahn said. Matt Kahn said that he thought COVID was the universe's indication to all of us saying, go to your room. So as we've come out of our room now and we're getting back together, I think you're right. That was probably a huge part of the joy, that it's been so long since I was just able to do a spontaneous, hey, let's all go out and get something to eat and sit and connect and look each other in the face and laugh and share and all that good stuff. It was just really phenomenal.
And even the monthly potluck, what a gift.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's now time to make time.
Yes.
So often in life, things get like, time just speeds up. It seems like it's just accelerated. I can remember being a kid and adults telling me that, wait, it gets faster as you go.
I know.
And it truly does.
It does, yes.
And, we also have a lot more vying for our attention. So there's so many directions for it to go in. Sometimes it's about making the priority. Too often, I've been a life coach for my life, but a licensed one for over a decade and working with clients. There's pockets of life that go well, and then there's some that are just ignored. And it's so important that if my priority is my family, then I need to show that and live that way.
Right.
So I have to, I choose to. There's no have to's, but I choose to. And when I do, that's when life goes better. Darlene says it's always time to make time.
Exactly.
Love that. Thank you, Darlene. And we are live, so anyone can feel free. I'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to have you. By all means, any questions that you have for Dr. Michelle, by all means. And have you noticed a difference in your community coming back? Are people starting to come back into that spiritual community in a different way?
They are. People are starting to, I would say, return. And I've in recent weeks seen people I haven't seen for a couple of years, and it's happening slowly but surely as people are getting connected and getting comfortable with coming back.
And it feels wonderful. The thing about being in spiritual community, it's, we did all that we could online. And I think that it was a life-saving thing for CSL, especially. We have so much, we want to bring the young people in. We had to go to where they were. So this forced us to get out of our comfort zone.
It did.
And see things in a different way. And there's still nothing that's as good as.
I love you too, Dennis. I love Dennis. He and I have been friends for years and years.
So there's nothing like being in a room of people that you love, and you don't even have to know them. Like, you don't need to know what they do for work. You don't need to know. That's the beauty of a spiritual community. We don't get into the BS of the everyday life. We see your soul. We look in your eyes, and I see your light, and you see my light, and amazing things happen.
Yes, I often say to the communities that I've been blessed to serve that you think that you go to a community for the music or the prayer work or the message, or maybe even the few friends you're connected with. And all of that's true, but there's also something else afoot, and it's the vibrational energy of love and transformation and like-hearted and like-minded beings coming together to energize each other. And so whether you go to your community and the message doesn't really resonate for you that Sunday, it doesn't matter. The fact is that you walked into that transformational energy. And I think you're right. What shifted is that people have had to find a way to do that from their homes during COVID when they couldn't actually come to the community. And it's a far inferior way of receiving it. But even when you tune in, I think you still receive the energy and the uplift of all the people who are gathered, whether you tune in live or you tune in later. There's something more afoot than just like everything in life. There's something more afoot than what is just in the physical space. So when people say, well, that minister doesn't really resonate with me, I say, come anyway. Go anyway, because you're not going just for that. That's the biggest trap of all, is thinking you're just going, or I don't like that guest artist. Well, so what? Go anyway. Show up and be in the space of that energy for your own healing journey. That's the gift.
It is. And, the way that I used to, I grew up Catholic. And I went to church every Sunday. You're supposed to, but I would go because I was supposed to. And I also realized as I got older, my life went better. When I went to church. Didn't matter what church, didn't matter where I was, but my life went better. And I would go there on Sunday to say thank you. That was my attitude. I would go to say thank you to Spirit. God, at the time, that's what I would call God. And that was why I went. At least that's what I told myself. Today, first of all, I get to. It's not a have to anymore. I get to. And it's a blessing. But I realized it was never about having to say thank you to Spirit. Because when I'm in gratitude, that is the gift. The
Mhm.
gift isn't about what I'm receiving just in the words. It's that I'm in gratitude saying thank you.
Yeah.
Because when I'm in gratitude, I'm receiving, I'm appreciating, I'm knowing what I have.
Exactly. That's beautiful.
And who needs to see you that day?
Right.
That's the most important thing. When we show up at service, we're there for the people around us. Who
Yeah.
needed to see me? I
Mhm.
can be there to uplift and there's times that we uplift each other. And when I
Absolutely.
think don't want to go is when I need it the most.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely have been witness to moments where someone came in and was sitting in the community and sitting next to someone. And I know that the person that they're sitting next to is going through a powerful transformation in their spiritual life, and it's emanating off of them. And I'm thinking that person is so lucky to be sitting next to that person right now, because they're receiving a great gift just being in the presence of that person. So you never know. You never know.
And how often do we get there and we think, well, I didn't think I was going to get anything out of it.
Yes,
And
yeah.
it ends up, or that really struck me. When we're open, what we're talking about, what we're singing about, it's spirit. How can
Mhm.
you not receive? And
Right,
and if I'm not getting anything, it's because I'm not connecting.
right, right.
I am not open to hearing the words.
Mhm,
And it's amazing, to me, the difference in my spirituality
mhm.
since I found this. So
Yes.
you found this as a teenager. What was that like?
Well, my mother, I had left the Catholic Church when I was 13 along with my mother. I often say that there were like 3 strikes against the Catholic Church for me, and after strike 3, I remember saying to my mother, and strike 3 was honestly, I got kicked out of catechism because I asked too many questions. And so,
I don't need to
just so I remember walking home that day from catechism and thinking to myself, I don't think I'm Catholic anymore. I bless them. And I was angry at that time, which I've now resolved and let go of a lot of. But I remember going home and saying to my mother, I need something different. And she said, I think I do too. So we spent 2 years reading and searching. And she was a realtor in town. And some real estate friend suggested we go to Mile High Church. And so we reluctantly went. She asked me to go, and I said, I don't know. And then she told me I could drive the car. I had my learner's permit. So that was really what motivated me, as I could drive. So I drove my mother to church that Wednesday night, walked in, and just fell in love with the message. Felt like this is what I've been looking for. I had asked my mother at one point, was there, after we read this metaphysical book, was there a church that believed that sort of thing? And she said, oh no. And if there are, they're the fringe people, right? They're and so I decided, okay, I'm one of the fringe people now. So I became very involved, jumped right in, and the key things that really called me in at that moment, especially given my experience in catechism, was that it was clear that I was totally allowed to question everything
Mm.
that was said, that I wasn't asked to check my brain or my mind at the door. I was invited to explore and be curious. That was important to me. And then I was welcomed into everything, even though I was just a teenager. I was welcomed in the adult church. I was welcome to volunteer. I was welcomed in the youth programs. I was welcome to talk to these practitioner people. There was no barrier that said, well, you're not good enough to be here. And so those things continued, besides just feeling a love and a resonance. They kept me there. And I would say that finding this teaching probably it impacted and in many ways saved my life in so many ways, because I wasn't happy spiritually. And ever since then, I've been very happy. I've not had any second thoughts, and I have been very committed and just so blessed to find this teaching and all the people that have been involved in it along the way with me.
And I think it's one of the things that really I've appreciated the most was that spiritual community.
Yes.
Realizing that, I can have this family of choice that I
Yeah.
get to go and enjoy on
Yeah.
any, and I get to be a part of, like I walk in accepted.
Mhm.
From where I am. I don't need to fix anything. They don't know my history. They don't know anything about. It's just that place of, it's God seeing God.
Yep.
And what a gift that is to be in the presence of that.
Definitely. Yes.
So as I wanted to get to, I want to get right to your book because I love the title. Okay.
Thanks.
I absolutely love the title. And I want to remind people that we're live. So if you have any questions, anything at all, you can ask and we'll get that up there. And what is it that got you? I'm going to put the title up there and everyone can just remember that this is available on Amazon. Resolve your fears and activate your spiritual immune system. So, where did that come from?
Well, my grandfather was quite the writer. He was a prolific writer of Western novels. His name was Steve Frazee, and he even wrote for Walt Disney for a while. Really wonderful writer, very creative writer, and I always admired that about him. And so, for most of my life, I said, whenever someone would ask me my dreams or my goals, I want to write a book. But I couldn't find the time. All these years of having churches and family and all this, I just couldn't figure out how to fit the time in. And so there were some colleagues of mine who had attended a writer's workshop that was a 5-day writer's workshop. And so I decided to do it. And I brought and had other people in the workshop. I think there were 5 or 6 of us. And it was you go all day long and they would teach you how to write a book. And so the first day they did this process with us to have us go within and to discover what voice wanted to be expressed to us. And if we could solve any problem on this planet, what problem would we try to solve? And I was really clear. This was in 2019. It was May of 2019.
What a great question.
Yeah.
If you could solve any problem on the planet, what would it be?
Yeah.
Wow.
And immediately what came up for me and just boiled out of me is that I would solve people's fear. I would allow for people to feel courage. And then I started seeing in my image how pervasive fear is, how fear keeps us from pursuing our dreams. Fear keeps us from stepping into our goals. Fear keeps us from following our heart. Fear, often the voice of fear, often keeps us from living out our full lives. So here's the title that I honestly came up with at first. And it was Fear, the virus that really kills us. And I wrote the book, and the goal was to write a book that the reader could read in 3 hours or less. So it wasn't meant to be a big, huge, chunky novel. And they gave us the template, and I did the workshop. And when I left that workshop, I had my first draft. And then I kind of continued to noodle with it. And then at the first part of 2020, I started working with a publisher and an editor on it. And then the virus broke out, right? And so then my editor said, now this title is very insensitive. It's not going to work.
No.
And so we really worked together to comb through the book to say, what are the things that we want to pull out? And the structure of the book, it's interesting. My whole premise is that our bodies have an immune system that work to keep us from disease, physical disease. And there are things that we can do in the physical world to strengthen our immune system. And I'm suggesting that our spiritual body also has an immune system that if we strengthen it, it can serve us. And that fear is like a virus that if it gets hold of you, from the inside or from around you. I mean, how many times have you thought about doing something and then someone talks you out of it? Why you couldn't do that? Why would you do that? That's such a big risk. Quit your job? Really? Would you do that? And so fear can get hold of us. And I wanted to help people be able to create a stronger spiritual immune system so that fear couldn't get hold of them as much.
Love that. Love that, because anything is possible.
Yes.
And it's knowing that and trusting. That's what faith is.
Right.
And fear and faith can't be in the same place at the same time.
Exactly.
So I am either trusting or I'm not.
Right.
And it's sometimes it's an evil and corroding thread. I've read it's one of those things that it can really block that sunlight of the spirit, and we don't even know it.
Right.
We don't even know it. So when we do work around it in the consciousness of it, we peel the onion and we let the layers go free.
Yes.
And we let the light in. And when I was speaking with you about it, you had actually said to me, people who let fear get a hold of them are choking out their joy.
Yes.
And I thought that was such a powerful statement, that when fear gets a hold of us, it chokes out our joy. And it really is. It's not that the joy wasn't there. That's, finding the joy is because it's there. It's just getting to it.
Right.
And in the world right now, thankfully we're at, on the other side, and knowing that we're on the other side of the COVID experience.
Yeah.
Well, it may be there. It's going to be there in a minimal way. And we now are looking at what's going on in the world. And world peace is something that we've always stood for at CSL. Something, we are a global community, knowing that each one is part of this oneness. There is no separation. So when we see what we see on television, there's an instant fear that comes with that. There's an instant reaction when we're in oneness and we know that there's one, and we see that's me that I'm seeing. How do we go? What do you suggest to people when we're experiencing that shock? Because it really is things that we could never even fathom.
Right.
Here, especially in the United States.
Well, there's two levels of fear, I think, that possibly may be at play here that are the most important ones, at least for me, as I've noticed and watched myself with all that's been going on in Ukraine and all the violence that happens in the world and is happening in the world. The first one, especially with the situation with Ukraine, can sometimes be an undergirding fear of our own death. Like, what if Putin gets so mad and he nukes the whole planet? That fear, that ego fear. And I talk about this in the book, that a lot of our fears are about things we just simply have no control over. And if we spend too much time obsessing over them, that's when they choke out our joy. So here's the thing for me: if I'm going to go down, if it's going to be my time to cross over into the next phase of life, I'm going to do it having as much fun as possible, enjoying life as much fun as possible. So I'm not going to sit at home and watch the news incessantly and be afraid for my life because of what he might do or what might happen. I'm going to be diligent and pay attention. And if something were to happen around me, just like the weather, if they tell me, okay, it's -7 degrees, it's probably better to stay indoors, I'm not going to be silly and go running out in the snow and roll around. I'm going to take care of myself, but I'm not going to sit around and obsess and let my fear of my own demise keep me from things. I've never resonated with that. I'll never be afraid to travel, to be out there in life doing what I love to do for fear of my own demise, because I trust God and I are in sync. And when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. That's it for me. So that's number one fear. Number two, though, I know that what you're talking about is also watching people suffer, watching people lose their homes, lose their country, lose their lives, watching people struggle. That causes fear, because I might project how it feels to be in their shoes. And so I do resonate with that. And I believe that I am a better contributor to peace and to the well-being of the planet right now if I look at what's happening and I'm willing to see it, and I just continue to send peace and love and light, and I listen to my own guidance. Because there are, some people will say, you can't just send thoughts and wishes. I know that seems cavalier, But the truth is, from this place of oneness that you mentioned, where we're all connected, I do no good for anyone continuing to roll around in the mud of my own fear and upset. I don't want to deny it. I want to see it and say, gosh, that sounds so frustrating. And I want to have compassion and I want to send light. And our thoughts and prayers do make a difference. Our willingness to stand and see what's on TV and use what we see on TV as our prayer request to say, wow, I'm really disturbed by that. That's telling me that's where my prayers need to go. Right now, that's where my prayers need to go. All the while, then asking, is there anything in the world of form that is mine to do? We talk about treat and move our feet in this teaching, right? Is there any feet moving that is mine to do, to contribute financially, to make my home available for people who have been made homeless, to go out and make blankets or send food, or what is mine to do in the world? We certainly don't want to just ignore that, but it's also very much about the light that we are and the light that we contribute back to the situation. So I think that's important for us to consider. Yes, I agree with Wayne. Heartfelt prayers do make a huge difference in the world.
We are the change we wish to see.
Yes.
It's not somebody else.
No.
And, we know everything is energy. They've proven everything is energy.
Right.
And in that, we also know that it's up to us to control our own vibration to the best of our abilities. And it doesn't mean always. We
are human and we have moments, right?
And we wouldn't be normal if we didn't have a reaction when we'd see something like we are. And it's knowing truth, that spirit is in each one of those people that we're seeing, that spirit as each one isn't just walking beside, is within as each individual, knowing that there is a plan that is bigger than I am and way above my pay grade to understand.
Yeah.
And really, like you said, if there's something that's mine to do, know it. And being part of peace meditations. And I remember I had seen Greg Braden one time. I had seen him speak, and he was talking about, and he was showing graphs that they were checking the energy levels.
Yes.
And they actually could sense where the energy and vibration was. And after 9/11, it spiked. The fear spiked so high. It was as high as the chart went.
Yes.
If normally it was here, it was at the top of the chart. And, and that was a global, as people woke up, it kept going higher and higher, and it sustained.
Yeah. And I also talked on Sunday about, here's a hard one. I think that if light workers and those of us who know about this truth bombarded even Putin and all of his armies and people with our light, that we could possibly make a difference. What I know I get tempted into is I get so angry with him, and I feel the projection of wanting to, be so angry with his egotistical righteousness and how dare he go in and do this kind of energy. And again, all human, absolutely normal, within the realm of what should be felt. And I need to take time to send love and light there too, and to understand that we won't change his behavior by continuing to send him our criticism and anger. That's separation.
There is no against.
No.
There is no against. It's being in that and knowing that the wisdom, the light, feeding the light within is what's going to make that.
Yeah.
And Wayne says, we work collectively. Yes, we do. We're all made of stars.
Yeah.
And quantum entanglement proves living spirit ever present with loving intelligence. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can be that light. We can be that stardust, even in the midst of the seeming darkness. It's up to us to know the truth, and that's what we teach. And regardless of what we see, it's what we know and what we're vibrating at. And it's a challenge. I know when I first came into this teaching, which at this point is about 15 years ago, I never watched the news. I just
Yeah.
never watched because it
Yeah.
made me negative.
Yeah, I know.
So it was easier for me, and I didn't watch it. It was all negative. I didn't bother. And my first class, Foundations, with Reverend Dr. Ian Taylor at Concordia, and he said, "Then you're not helping the world."
Exactly.
And I was offended. I'm like, "Oh,
I know. How could he say that, right?
and he's like, it's not about digging your head in the sand. It's
No.
helping to heal what you see."
Right. Now, I do know that for
Practitioner.
myself, there are times in my life where there's something going on, and I can be honest with myself and say, my energy is really low because of things going on in my life. And I know right now I can't be a contribution of good to something bigger. I need to focus on me. That's fine for a while, but I totally agree. And I say to myself, if we as the beings who know how this works, who know about the oneness and the transformative power of the presence of the divine, if we don't look at that which is disturbing in the world and look through it to the truth about it, how's the truth ever going to emerge? It can't.
There's a time and a place for everything.
Yes.
And if I'm not in the right space, then I don't need to get, just like I wouldn't walk into a conversation that I don't need to touch when I'm not in the right space. It's the same thing with watching the news. And it's also important not to get caught up in it.
Right.
We are in it, but not of it. And
Right.
it's to witness something is the difference than, I'm very empathic, and I look at things and it's like I want to fix. I was raised to be that fixer. And this isn't mine to do. It's mine to keep myself fixed. And then I'm contributing, as you said, the good to the world. So it's knowing what's going on, but not being caught up in the distraction of the story.
Of the world of fun.
It's honoring and sending that love and light and holding that love and light and being that love and light. And knowing that, it's not about complaining because the gas prices went up. And at the same time, knowing that there's millions of people that can't afford the gas prices to go up.
Right, of course. Yeah.
So it's going to food pantries. It's contributing where and when I can to what I can do. Like you said, it's finding what is mine to do as a citizen of the planet.
Right.
As a citizen of the country, as a citizen of my community, what can I do? And far too often, people get overwhelmed.
Yeah, and we feel
they do nothing.
Yes. Yeah, and even if you don't know what to do, the best thing we can do right now is just send light and love. Send light and love.
Absolutely.
So tell me, because I see Wayne made a comment, I am one with the force. The force is with me. That's a great affirmation from one of the characters in one of those Star Wars movies. And at first I read it, though, I am one with the farce. The farce is with me. I was like, what is he saying? It's very, very good. All right. Sorry, I interrupted your thought.
No worries. So tell me a little more about the book. So what is it that, because I know you do book studies and that you're available for that. And I just want to make sure people know, if you're just tuning in, we are live, and know that you can, any questions that you may have, we are here with Reverend Dr. Michelle Medrano, and we're talking about her book, Resolve Your Fears and Activate Your Spiritual Immune System. And that you are, like I said, you are available to do book studies, and people can reach out to you. So if your community is looking for that next book, I encourage you, they can reach you. And I'm going to say this again at the end. This is your email, resolveyourfears@gmail.com. And you also have a website, resolveyourfears.com. So just wanted to put that out there. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, there was an asynchronistic thing that occurred in this book writing workshop that I was in. We were to ideally create an intro and 5 chapters and maybe some supplemental material. And so I started to, in the midst of the workshop, explore what the immune system of the physical body is made of. And lo and behold, there are 5 main components to the immune system in the physical body. So I took those 5 main components, put them in my book, and went through them as the spiritual immune system, kind of used them as metaphor throughout the whole book. And so every chapter has different elements about it and different tips. And one of the biggest ones that I see that we have a question.
Yes, I was good. That was.
Yeah. Do I have any some tangible daily tips? One of the biggest things that helped me, I talk in the book, I tell a story about when I first moved to California to serve at the Huntington Beach Church. The thing I'd never been with in my life was earthquakes. And I won't go into the whole long story, but I became deathly afraid of earthquakes. Like they say that when people are afraid, they either often will flee or freeze. And I was freezing with these earthquakes, emotionally and physically. And I was living all alone. I was still making friends. I had very few friends there. And it was just me and my kitty cat. And I was really, really freaked out by these earthquakes, to the point that I was afraid to drive on the freeway. What if there's an earthquake? And every restaurant I would go into, I would look for where's the exit in case there's an earthquake, and what should I do? And I was just really overwhelmed with fear. It was the first time in my life I was that overwhelmed with fear on an ongoing basis. And I called my mother, who was living in Maryland at the time, and we had a long conversation. And she was so wise. So she helped me and coached me. And so the first thing I did is that I got some knowledge. I did do some physical things. I put together a earthquake kit. I went and found out how my house works, so that if there was an earthquake and I needed to turn the water off or the gas off, that I was empowered. So I certainly think there are things sometimes when we have fear in our daily life, there are things that we can say, well, if I was prepared for that, would I feel more secure? So I certainly think that's a tip that we can consider. Sometimes we can't, but in that case I could. But the thing that really healed my fear is that I worked on and created an affirmation that is with me still, that I offered in the book and I will offer today. And it feels like it might be even very important for what we're going through today. And my affirmation was, I am always at the perfect place at the perfect time to ensure my total safety. Because I realized that I did not have a belief system that was big enough to think that I can control earthquakes. But what I realized is that I know that one of my gifts is I'm often in the right place at the right time for my greatest good. So can't I affirm that I'm always in the right place at the right time and I'm safe? So I started imagining that if I was in an earthquake, I'd be in a place where I was safe. If I was driving down the road and there was an earthquake, that I could pull off the side of the road and I had my earthquake kit in my car and I would be safe. I started realizing that it also translated to other things, that if I'm driving home from work and I suddenly get this urge to go a different way, I go a different way because I trust that I'm always in the right place at the right time. And I am safe to ensure my safety. I started saying it anytime I felt that fear come up. I started saying it over and over and over again. And lo and behold, it took some time, but eventually there were more earthquakes and I became calmer and calmer and calmer in the midst of the earthquakes. And I think that we can interrupt that pattern. If we've got a place, where Darlene's talking about, where we constantly have fear come up, we can interrupt the pattern with a strong thought that allows us to say, wait a minute, I don't have to be afraid. I am a strong person. I'm a capable person. I know how to be safe. I know what to say. I know what to do, whatever it might be. But if we have fears, we can create an affirmation that is a pattern interrupt. And eventually, if we do it enough, we begin to actually change our experience.
I love that pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also practitioners. See a practitioner.
Yeah.
If something comes up and there's something still stuck, and no matter what it seems like we're physically doing, it doesn't seem to be, then we can, and the gift of that is a practitioner doesn't know the stuckness.
Yeah.
They only know the clear path.
Right.
So, there's so much that can, And also sometimes there's something beneath that needs to be voiced.
Absolutely. And that practitioners and other counselors and therapists can help us get to that for sure. And I also think that sometimes we have to, as that great author said, and I talk about this in my book, feel the fear and do it anyway. To say, like the first day of school, I could say to my kiddo, hey, I know you're scared. I get it. Everybody feels scared their first day of school. You're not abnormal. You're normal. Just take a deep breath and just go with it anyway. Just be in it and allow yourself to trust the journey. And we all have moments where we have to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of life. There's things that we're not going to enjoy or want.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's a reason behind, often there's a reason behind all of it. So it's coming to a place of alignment with whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as far as what if there's that feeling, because I think that, anger is fear. Anger is outward, so that I don't have to feel it on the inside. It's putting it on the outward. How do we get to the root of it? How do you suggest people, other than a practitioner, or how can, when we're not feeling in alignment, what do you suggest to people?
Well, I think I am a big fan of things like journaling or talking, going to somebody who I can trust to say, I just need to speak this fear out loud. I don't need you to fix me. I don't need you to do anything about it. But if I say it out loud and hear myself say it, or if I write it in my journal or on a piece of paper and I see it outside of myself, it kind of helps me to disentangle myself from it, because I can be more objective and I can actually feel the observer aspect of myself saying, wow, I'm really afraid of that. And then I also often work with, what if I wasn't afraid? How would I behave, or what would I do if I wasn't afraid of this thing? I would say that thing. I would make that request. I would have that difficult conversation. I would follow that dream. I would be joyful in my daily life and not be so worried and afraid all the time. That sort of thing. So once I've gotten it out of me, it seems like it restores me to do that.
Yes, I said something similar to this morning to someone. I said, I need to just say it out loud.
Yes.
It takes the power out of it.
It does.
It's like taking the stinger out of it.
It does. Because a lot of us walk around kind of like being afraid of things and hoping no one notices, and almost being ashamed of our fear. And fear is a normal it's a normal feeling. You're right. It can mask anger. It can keep us, if we keep feeding it, it will keep us from living our best lives. And so the real bottom line choice every day is, do I want to feed this fear, or do I want to feed courage? And there's that constant choice in front of us and inside of us.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that sometimes it's not fear. Sometimes if we're anticipating something, sometimes that anxiety or anxiousness can be a good thing.
Yes.
So, we can kind of look at it. Life does begin just past our comfort zone. It's getting to that place that we're living. It's part of the living.
Right.
And, especially after the past couple of years, there's been so much fear in it.
Yes.
And we can choose differently.
We can. Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to say that I talk in the book just a little bit about fear isn't all bad. Certainly, there is a benefit to making friends with my fear. If I'm walking at night all by myself and I suddenly get a dose of fear coming up, it may be my intuitive voice saying, get back in your car, Michelle. There's a dog about to come run at you, or there's something about to happen. So I think fear isn't horrible, but I think we overuse it. We've become entrained with it, and then we're in constant fight or flight, which stresses out our neurological system, which stresses us and keeps us from our deeper intuitive nature that knows that when fear is on board, there may be times that we have to heed it. Maybe I do need to get out of this room, or I do need to do something. So I don't want us to be thinking we should obliterate our fear entirely from our experience. I just want us to get into a balance with it and an understanding of it and a sense of clarity about it, and not be living continuously from that state of stress.
And so tell me, when it comes to that, how do we get from that place of fear back to joy? So when we catch ourselves in the loop, because that's all it really, we have our ebbs and flows. We're human. It's part of the human condition that we go up. How do we realize, okay, I'm not where I want to be? How do you suggest people realign?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to get curious. What's going on? What is behind this fear? What's happening that I'm in this fear? I choose to be back in my joy. I choose to live a joyful life. So what's this fear about for me? And that's the place where there's a distinction for me of, oh, I really need to pay attention. My fear is showing me I might be in danger, which is rare for most of us. The reality that we're ever in danger, in our society, unless we're in danger with family members, or in danger we're driving in a condition that's unsafe, or that sort of thing, or we're in a war-torn area. For most of us, it's rare that we're actually ever really in physical danger. But I get to check in on that and say, what's this fear about? And once I understand, okay, I'm not in any physical danger. So what's really going on with this fear? And I think it's just that continual deeper inquiry that sometimes, like you pointed out, we can do on our own, and sometimes we can't. We need someone to help us. And I would say that if I'm in fear a lot of the time, that's an indication that I probably need someone, a community, a group, an individual to partner with, to help me take that fear and really look at it, because we cling to our fears. We defend our fears. Well, I should be afraid. My gosh sakes, there's war going on. I need to hold on to my fear. But all the while, as we talked about earlier, the fear is choking out the joy. And so it's about a deeper inquiry into what the fear is about, and then an assessment about my willingness to let it go. Am I willing to let it go? Am I willing to get off it? Am I willing to transform it? And if so, how might I actually transform it? And so sometimes that's about journaling, creating affirmations, getting prayer support, forgiveness. Sometimes I have to forgive because someone taught me to be afraid like this. I'm just mirroring. I talk in the book about my mother had a fear of snakes, and I talked about how I kind of took that on as a fear that just because she had it, I'll have it too. But when I really examined it, I said, I think I'm really kind of snake neutral. I don't really have a big fear of snakes, but my mother did. And so I took her fear on. It wasn't really mine. And so I get to set it down and set it aside, say, okay, that was hers. So there's a whole bunch of steps that we can do. And I think the more we do those things, the more we come into our joy. And the last one I will say is that I believe I'm an avid belief in meditation and the discovery of our innermost self, because I think the more we're in tune with that innermost self of us, we've got inner guidance on board that can be rigorously honest with us and say, Michelle, you're being a scaredy cat for no reason. Let it go. Let it go. And if I can bridge that dissonance between the ego mind that wants to constantly talk me into fear and that inner self that knows the truth, I can be set free and I can reclaim my joy.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for the practical tips, and thank you for being here. It's hard to believe that this hour has flown by as much as it has. Anything else that you'd like to share with people, whether it be about workshops or whether it be about anything at all that you've got coming up, anything that you'd like to share, other than finding you at Mile High?
Yes.
They can find you there. What else would you like to share with us?
Well, I don't have any workshops coming up or anything, but I just hope that if people are struggling with fear, that they will get support. Feel free to write me. As you can see, my email or go to my website and join my mailing list. I'm starting to put some blogs on there to help people move through fear. And I hope that I can be of support to anybody who's wanting to be more fearless in their living.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you so much. I mean, I think this is a topic that it is absolutely timely. And Rev Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Wonderful discussion.
Yeah.
It's so important. It's so important to be part of, the truth, the solution.
Yes, absolutely.
And knowing that there's, no need for fear, just truth to be revealed.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to having you on sometime again soon.
Thank you, Gina.
And it is, it is such, I think too, for me, I was raised that there was vulnerability in it, that you weren't supposed to show people.
Yes.
It was as if there was something wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's coming into alignment with realizing knowing where we are is just knowing where we are, and we can go from there. If you put you can put the destination wherever you want to go, but if you're not aligned with where you are now, you're not going to get there. So if it's based on lies, we're not going to get to where we choose to be until we know ourselves.
Absolutely. There's a much more courageous part of us that's deep inside of us.
And we get to practice that and enjoy that journey every step of the way. Absolutely. So thank you for helping us to do that. And I know you're off to your next meeting for the day. Thank you, and blessings and love in Colorado. And I'm glad it's going to warm up for you.
Me too.
Thank you so much for being here with
us, everybody.
So we are here in this place of knowing that there is a greater yet to be that is unfolding. Regardless of what I see, it is what we know. And I am so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for this network that allows us the opportunity to be in this place of looking at things in a different way and talking about the things that are so important, which is the real stuff. How do I feel about it? Not just about what's going on, but how I feel about it. So I am grateful, and know that you can reach out. And this network is here because of wonderful people just like you. So go to ntmedia.org and you can donate. Help us to get that word out there in a greater way. Thank you. And thank you for watching. And if you want to reach me, know that you can reach me on Facebook, either through CSL Greater Boston or just under my name, and my email, gina@cslboston.org. Thank you. I'm wishing you a very, very blessed and joy-filled journey. Know that the joy is within you. And I hope we helped you find it just a little bit more today. So thank you. Blessings and love. Namaste. So let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are